LSU-BAMA this year in Tuscaloosa. Alabama coming into this one as a 3-point favorite. The over-under ticking up to 60.5. This game always delivers. It was a classic last year in Baton Rouge. Now things switch gears to Tuscaloosa. And when I tell you two completely different teams on the field, completely different from last year, boy, oh boy, these two programs could not be more different. From the LSU perspective, listen, we know what it's all about. It is about high-flying offense. And it's funny, listen, this is what great coaches do, right? I don't think Brian Kelly, certainly not at Notre Dame, was never known for high-flying, fast-paced, tempo-scoring offenses, right? Notre Dame was run the ball, defense, good but never great quarterback play. At LSU, he inherited a lot of talent. He brought in Jaden Daniels, and he now has the most explosive offense in college football. That is not hyperbole. That is quite literal, as LSU leads college football in scoring 47 points per game. That is insane to think about. Think about all the great offenses we have in this sport. Washington, Oregon, USC, Ole Miss, Tennessee, whatever you deem to be a good offense, LS-freaking-U is scoring more than any of them. They also lead the country in total yards per game. So this team is awesome, and it all starts with Jaden Daniels, right? I just mentioned it, but the kid is unbelievable. I have argued for weeks. I think he should be absolutely in the very short conversation in the Heisman race, if not at the top. I will say, I think if they win this game, he might be your favorite going into next week, coming out of the weekend. But this guy, 2,800 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. And as I've said so many times, what is making him and his season so special is that his team needs him to deliver every single week. A lot of tools around him. Logan Diggs coming into this game at the running back position. The Army game before the bye was a little bit of a quieter game for him. But prior to that, 4 straight games of 90-plus yards rushing. And those two wide receivers, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, are as good as any duo in college football. 20 combined touchdown catches, 19 I think it actually is, almost 2,000 yards receiving. They are unbelievable. But as I said, it's in large part because they need those guys to be unbelievable. The defense just is not very good this year. We know the point totals, but 41 to Florida State in that opening night loss, 55 in a loss at Ole Miss, 39 in a win over Missouri. Offense elite, defense not very good for LSU. And for Alabama, it's actually the exact opposite. I mean, we've talked so much about Alabama on this show, on the college football betting, or the Aaron Torres pod, excuse me. You know the narrative by now. Jalen Milroe, he's a little bit limited, but this is an old school Bama team. They brought back Kevin Steele to bring back some of the toughness on this defense, and that is exactly what they have done so far this year. You go ahead and look at the stats. It is the number 2 scoring defense in the SEC behind only Georgia. I would argue Alabama's schedule has been much tougher to this point as well. They also, how about this? I think this is kind of important. Outside of that Texas game, have not given up more than 21 points in any game. Now, admittedly, Texas was the best offense that they've seen, but Ole Miss ain't too shabby either. Tennessee ain't too shabby either, even if they're different than last year. So the fact that they have not given up more than 21 points since week 2 in this schedule with this, with this schedule in the SEC, that's darn impressive to me. And here is maybe my favorite stat about the Alabama defense. Those 3 big wins. So we know they lost to Texas in week 2. And by the way, even in the Texas game, remember, they had only given up 13 points going into the fourth quarter before Texas put up a bunch late when that defense was worn down. Thank you, everybody, as always, for your support of the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. And we have a major announcement as legal sports betting is now in the state of Kentucky. That is right. The Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And here is the best part. DraftKings has an incredible offer for listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod who are first-time customers with DraftKings. This is the deal. Here's what you need to know. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet $5 on any game, just $5, and you get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code Torres. That's right. It's that simple. Again, first-time customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5 on any game, pro, college, any sport you want, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. Thank you to our new partners, DraftKings Sportsbook. Thrilled to be working with them. Take advantage of their offer now. But I bring it up because in the 3 big wins of the season, Ole Miss at home. Remember, Ole Miss is a top 10 team according to the college football playoff rankings. Texas A&M on the road and Tennessee on the road. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. Alabama has given up a combined 6 points in the second half of those 3 games. That is incredible to me. It is a testament to Kevin Steele. I think an Alabama fan would argue we need to see it for all 4 quarters, but this defense is rounding into form. So in terms of Saturday, great game, great atmosphere, night game, CBS. And I think, we kind of know what the question is, right? Who breaks first? Is it the Alabama defense versus that LSU offense? Or does Alabama's offense break through against that not very good LSU defense? Bluntly, I do lean Alabama at home. Now, in terms of why, a couple things. One, from the LSU perspective. Listen, when I say this, it's going to sound like a criticism. It is not. Anybody who knows me or knows my background knows I love Brian Kelly. Been following him since the Cincinnati days. He is a beast. I've always liked him. I'm glad he's having success at LSU. But when I look at the schedule, it feels like the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's like, oh man, after that Ole Miss loss, they really kind of got things figured out. And then I went back and looked at the schedule. Probably should have lost that Missouri game, or easily could have anyway. And then you play a bad Auburn team at home that has not figured out the quarterback situation 10 weeks into the season. By the way, Hugh Freeze, Robbie Ashford, and Peyton Thorne would tell you that, so that's not a big secret. And then beyond that, also on top of that, they beat Army before the bye. So you're talking about a team that, have they really turned a corner? Or did they dominate Army and Auburn at home, 2 teams that, frankly, this team should, plus they went into a bye. So it's really been about 4 weeks since that Missouri game. The other thought I had with LSU, and I think this is important as well, most teams come out of a bye as healthy as they're going to be. That is not the case at LSU. By the way, Nick Saban talked a lot about that this week. He said, we're as healthy as we've ever been. It's great that we have to bye this late. We kind of needed it to recharge. LSU is the exact opposite. Really important player along their defensive line, Mekhi Wingo. He went down with some sort of injury that required surgery. He's basically out for the season. They said 6 weeks. So in theory, I guess he could come back for a bowl game. My guess is, unless it's the playoff, they're not going to rush him back. So probably done for the year. And I also thought it was worth noting a pair of defensive backs, Deuce Chestnut, transfer from Syracuse. Denver Harris, the high-profile transfer from Texas A&M. Brian Kelly, very vague, but clearly not happy with them, said they have not been practicing, which could mean a lot of things, right? Could mean an injury, could mean a suspension, could mean whatever. Was asked about that and said, no, they're not playing this weekend. Next question. So LSU secondary, and I know Alabama's passing game is not a strong suit, but LSU secondary, they're now moving safeties to play corner. And that's on top of the fact that the run defense isn't very good either, bottom half of the country nationally. And so when I look at the fact that Alabama is at home, both teams are coming off a bye, but Alabama is healthier. And I just get, and the other thing about Alabama, nothing phases this team. I give him credit, right? And Nick Saban would tell you, this isn't the most talented team that he's ever had, but this is a team remember, they trailed at half at Texas A&M, didn't flinch, ended up winning. They trailed at half by double figures to Tennessee, didn't flinch, ended up winning. There's something about this team. They're playing with confidence. I would say one last thing too, and this might be the dumbest thing ever, and maybe it means nothing. And an LSU fan, an Alabama fan in the mentions, feel free to tell me I'm an idiot, because I know you will. Did you see the viral video of the players singing Nick Saban happy birthday on Tuesday, October 31st, his Halloween day, which was Nick Saban's 72nd birthday? Maybe it means absolutely nothing, and it probably does. But you saw a smile on Nick Saban's face that you don't normally see. And you saw the players embracing that moment. It just feels like a much closer team, right? Last year felt like there was some weird disconnect, not saying anybody was bad or wrong or whatever, but whether it was the coaching staff with Bill O'Brien and Pete Golding, whether it was the player, whatever it was, just felt like there was some disconnect last year. This seems like a close group, a group that likes being around each other. Give me Alabama 28-21. Alabama win in a cover. I do like the Tide to win this game.